The man placed a coin in his hand. He shook hands with a strange-looking man. To their surprise, each received a mark. Then the man opened the prison door for him. He possessed the ability to control humans. Who is this peculiar person? Why was he locked up here? What kind of deal did they make? The story begins with a boy. His name is Ivan. He is a student. Ivan planned to go to the library to read. Unexpectedly, he discovered a small wooden box. When he opened the box, it emitted a golden light. An unknown object flew out. It looked like the galaxy in the universe. At this moment, the galaxy flew into the boy's hand and directly entered his body. Ivan only felt dizzy. It felt as if his body was about to explode. Clearly, this was a power he could not control. The boy wanted to seek help from a teacher or the administrator, but he soon realized he had lost control over his body. He spent a long time, finally making his way out of the library. He hoped to quickly find someone to help him call for an ambulance. The door was right ahead, but no matter how he walked, he could not reach it. It seemed that the hallway was being pulled by a force. Ivan took a step forward and rushed ahead, but everything felt like a scene from a movie. The faster he ran, the farther the door seemed to move away from him. Then, the hallway began to twist. He realized this was of no use, so he stopped in his tracks. Suddenly, a powerful force propelled him towards the door. The boy successfully made it outside. He looked at the lawn and people outside the library. Ivan wanted to seek help from a man in a hoodie. When he turned around, Ivan was startled. He had no choice but to look for someone else to help, but this time he chose the wrong person. The girl with pink hair in front of him knocked him down to the ground and locked his arms. Ivan felt he had overreacted. Perhaps it was seeing the confusion in Ivan's eyes that made the girl help him to his feet. The girl's name was Anna. Ivan also wanted to introduce himself. When Anna saw his student ID, she was very shocked. It turned out that the boy was a student from over 100 years ago. But why did he end up in the present day 100 years later? Ivan began to observe his surroundings. Strange flying vehicles and novel architecture, and even people floating in the air. Seeing this, Ivan realized the seriousness of the situation. This was clearly not the world he knew. At a critical moment, Ivan suddenly felt dizzy. He collapsed to the ground. Anna took Ivan back to her home. Then, together with her father, they used high-tech equipment to examine the boy. They discovered that inside Ivan's body, there was a strange substance that contained unknown energy. Perhaps that was the reason he arrived here. At this moment, the girl and her father had no idea that danger was approaching them. The scene shifted to a dark prison. York was locked up in a cell. The prison used rare dark matter to create chains to bind York. Even slight movements would trigger the chains, instantly causing an explosion that could kill York. The man on duty tonight was named Ander. He never believed that York was once a threat to the world. Ander constantly mocked and ridiculed York. York dared not respond to him. Ander prepared to escalate things. He pulled out a gun and aimed it at York. He threatened York to turn around, or he would shoot him on the spot. But at this moment, York's previously motionless body suddenly reacted. The chains made of dark matter lost their effectiveness. York approached the shocked Ander. Then he looked up at the sky. A huge black hole was forming above. York told Ander, "The microcosm has arrived." His moment of freedom had come. Ander was confused by his words. Suddenly, York extended his right hand towards Ander. Ander couldn't believe it. After all, the other was a legendary figure. Now he was being friendly. So he relaxed and shook York's hand. But he didn't expect that. A cloud of black smoke emanated from York's hand, flying straight into Ander's nose. In the next moment, Ander became a puppet, obeying York's every command, and opening the cell door that held him captive. But this drew the attention of the prison security system. Other guards noticed the situation and rushed to the scene. But York was not at all panicked. He raised his hand, and the guards began to mimic him, performing the same actions as he did. However, the gun in his hand was aimed at a fellow guard. The outcome was obvious. Immediately after, York aimed the gun again, pointing it at himself. Before long, the guard was also killed. York had no mood to admire his handiwork, because he was in a hurry to find the microcosm. Only by obtaining it could he restore his powers. Meanwhile, Ivan woke up and was exploring Anna's house, but after walking for a while, he felt his legs were unresponsive. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move. At this moment, Ander appeared in front of the boy. York was right behind him, having taken control of Ivan's body. Then, York forced Ivan to kneel. presenting his neck to Ander knife. He intended to extract the microcosm. As Ivan was on the brink of danger, Anna suddenly burst in. She pushed Ander aside, and the two began to fight. But Ander, supported by York, became immensely powerful. Anna was no match for him, but she suddenly thought of a solution. She raised her gun and fired at Ander, but in an instant, she felt unable to move. Of course, this was York's scheme. Ander pointed the knife at Anna, showing no mercy for a woman. Meanwhile, Anna's father rushed in as well. Ivan grabbed the gun and aimed it at Ander, but York immediately seized control of Ivan, forcing him to point the gun at Anna's father. After the gun fired, the father was shot in the chest. Watching everything unfold, Ivan was shocked and terrified. This triggered the energy of the microcosm within him. The surrounding environment began to change again, similar to the time in the library. Anna wanted to rush to her father's side, but she was moving farther away from him. In a daze, Anna found herself in another place. The cause of all this was the microcosm inside Ivan. He transported them to an overpass, where a car was speeding towards Ander, but in the next moment, such terrifying physical strength would likely cause bullets to curve away from him. Facing the flow of traffic, York's approach was quite simple. He simply raised his hands and took control of the driver's body. Seeing their immense power, Ivan wanted to leave, but was blocked by Ander. Fortunately, Anna led the boy into the traffic, but Ander saw through her plan, waiting for them on their escape route. He raised his hand and lunged at Anna. As the knife struck, Ander felt something was off, but just as he looked up, he saw Anna's smart robot. In fact, the Anna and Ivan before him were merely projections cast by the robot. Ander was furious, and he raised his hand to slice the robot in half. Meanwhile, Anna and Ivan had escaped from the other side. Ivan took Anna back to his home. His mother was delighted, because she thought Anna was her son's girlfriend. The most important thing now was to find a way back to Anna's world. After all, the power of the microcosm was not something Ivan could control. Moreover, there were still Ander and York pursuing them. Ivan thought about how he had found the microcosm at school. There might be some clues there, so the two hurried to the library. They had just begun their investigation when Ander arrived as well. Another fierce battle was about to erupt between them. A female teacher stepped forward. Her outfit was very unusual, resembling that of Dr. Strange's assistant. The teacher lightly tapped her arm, and a small shield appeared instantly. The two stopped talking, and immediately began to fight. But Ander had the support of York's powers. The female teacher began to lose her advantage. Ander seized the opportunity, and punched the teacher, knocking her down to the ground. Anna couldn't hold back any longer. She picked up a stick to block the incoming blade for the teacher. The teacher got back on her feet, and looked at Anna with a strange expression. But now was not the time to relax. Ander launched his next wave of attacks, facing the two women. The man showed no signs of panic. The battle between them was intense. Even so, the two were caught off guard and defeated by Ander. Seeing the dire situation, the teacher used the classroom door she had broken. She pushed Ander out the window. Then she told everyone to leave, staying behind to buy them time. But the teacher knew very well that continuing to fight Ander was a losing battle. Therefore, she deliberately exposed a weakness, and then directly covered Ander's eyes, temporarily blinding him. Seeing the teacher break free, Anna was very happy. Everyone quickly blocked the classroom door. Anna urged Ivan to use the microcosm to teleport them away, but Ivan couldn't sense the microcosm's presence. As Ander was about to break through the wall, everyone had to retreat to the corner and prepare for a hard fight. Soon, Ander charged in. The teacher grabbed a whip and fought Ander, but soon she was overpowered and pinned against the cabinet to allow Ivan to use his powers. In desperation, Anna kissed Ivan. In an instant, the scene flickered again, and time and space began to twist. A spatial doorway opened. The teacher took advantage of Ander being distracted, and severed his right hand, and pushed him outside. Seeing the target about to escape, Ander chased after him through the twisted space, but when he jumped out of the spatial rift, the classroom was already empty. On the other side, Ivan opened a portal, transporting everyone to an abandoned warehouse. The teacher and Anna embraced, sharing their stories with each other. It turned out that the teacher's name was Lisa. In fact, she was Anna's mother. Years ago, due to the power of the microcosm, Lisa was transported to Earth 100 years ago, and she took on the responsibility of protecting the microcosm. If York obtained the microcosm, he would regain the power to destroy the world. But unexpectedly, before York could succeed, Ivan inadvertently obtained it. The microcosm actively merged into the boy's body. Just as Lisa finished speaking, the computer butler from Anna's home approached. Wasn't this robot sliced in half? Everyone didn't think much of it, and followed the robot out of the warehouse. In this era, York had taken control of the Earth. Life for humanity was shrouded in darkness. At this moment, everyone saw Ander. His injuries had healed. This left everyone feeling puzzled. Seeing that he only had one hand, Lisa suddenly realized that they must have arrived in the future world. The current Ander was no longer York's puppet. He had repaired Anna's butler robot. Everyone discussed strategies to deal with York. At this moment, York was living in a heavily guarded location and controlled the core terminal on Earth. He had also created numerous robotic minions to help him dominate the planet. To kill York, he had to find a way to reach his residence. Upon hearing this, Lisa decided to go investigate. Ander offered to guide them. The others would stay behind and wait. But before they had gone far, they were spotted by York's robotic servants. In the blink of an eye, a dozen black-clad guards appeared. Ivan hid inside a bus, but soon he was discovered by the guards. On the other side, Lisa and Ander were fighting against the black-clad guards. Just as Ivan was about to be captured, Anna suddenly burst in, saving Ivan. Everyone decided to escape together, but at this moment, reinforcements for the black-clad guards arrived. Ivan's 3 classmates shouted at the guards and threw a secret weapon. The guards clearly had no idea what it was. They reached out to catch it. And the shockwave from the explosion caused an abandoned building to collapse. Seeing their friends in danger, Ivan's powers erupted again. In the last second before the building fell, he sent the 3 of them back to their original time. Then, using the time portal again, he returned to Anna and the others. Seeing the black-clad guards continuously pouring in, Ivan and Anna hurried to hide inside a house. Ander and Lisa had to fight again, but the black-clad guards kept increasing in number. Ander had no choice. He pushed Lisa into the house, taking the rear guard. Under the assault of the guards, Ander couldn't hold on. Unintentionally, he was stabbed by a blade. Ander fell to the ground, motionless. At this moment, York arrived at the scene. He walked past Ander, not even glancing at him. Ivan and the others entered a room. They wanted to travel through time again, but just as he opened the portal, he saw that York was attacking his friends. At this moment, York also noticed Ivan and the others in the portal. Seeing her students in danger, Lisa wanted to help them, but was controlled by York. With no chance to resist, Anna suffered the same fate, and the one controlling her was the York of this world. The latter had control over the girl, choking Ivan by the neck. As the boy was about to be choked to death, Anna was powerless to help. The situation fell into a deadlock. At this moment, York extended his right hand towards Ivan. Ivan's body began to react strangely. The microcosm flew into York's hand. If the microcosm fused with York, he would gain the power to traverse time and space, and even change history. The microcosm slowly vanished in York's grasp. He could already feel the boundless power within him. York looked up at the sky. As a vortex began to form, he said to Anna and Ivan, he was going to send the Earth through a time tunnel, ultimately to a beautiful place. The 2 watched everything unfold. Stunned and frozen in place, the time portal opened. Lisa was still under York's control, and had the knife pointed at herself. At this critical moment, Ivan's friend stepped up, delivering a heavy blow to York's head, causing him to lose control over Lisa. The teacher immediately launched an attack. Just as she was about to continue her assault on York, he regained control over Lisa's body. Outside the portal, York felt the scabbed wound on his neck. He realized that his counterpart in another time was in trouble, but he believed in his own power. As long as he didn't face issues now, everything would remain under control. After being controlled, Lisa knelt down, preparing to kill herself with the knife. York activated the power of the microcosm, taking the boy and girl to the time where Lisa was. But what he didn't know was, he was facing a great disaster. Ivan watched everything unfold, and he immediately used all his strength to crash into York. The collision caused both Yorks to stagger. Lisa regained control of her body. At this critical moment, a strange phenomenon occurred. The bodies of the 2 Yorks exhibited unusual reactions. One of the Yorks began to split, forming an identical body. The other did the same, but it didn't stop there. More and more Yorks continued to split off, and as they replicated, time and space began to twist. These replicated Yorks were all trapped within temporal fibers. In fact, York's actions touched the taboos of time travel, because the selves from 2 different times must never meet. This would lead to being consumed by time itself. York was clearly too confident. Ivan watched this in shock, but just then, York suddenly shouted, followed by all the duplicates being pulled into the time vortex. It seemed that everything would end here, but the distortion of space continued, pulling everyone into it. Lisa tried her best to stop the energy of the microcosm from leaking. In a critical moment, Ivan reached out his arm towards the microcosm. The two merged once more. The microcosm seemed to have found its master again, though Ivan didn't fully understand. He opened his eyes and said to Anna in front of him, "We belong to different times." To stabilize the microcosm, he had to go home. Hearing this, Anna got up and chased after Ivan, but the faster she ran, the farther away Ivan seemed to be. The boy instinctively raised his arm. In an instant, 100 years of time spanned between them. After Anna disappeared, Ivan arrived at the giant black hole. The edge of the hole was surrounded by a dazzling halo. The boy realized that inside the black hole was the beautiful home of humanity's dreams, but just as he was about to step inside, he was pulled back by a force, bringing him back to his original time. It was evident that he was not yet ready to accept all the powers of the microcosm. He then fainted on the spot. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself in a hospital. Several friends were by his side. Ivan would no longer feel lonely, because he could feel in his heart that friends from 100 years later were with him. The love of youth was pure and flawless. One day, Ivan suddenly thought of a way. Based on vague memories, he found the location of Anna's home. He carved a pattern on a small tree. The scene shifted to 100 years later. Anna looked at the heart shape on the tree and broke into a happy smile. Thus, the story of Century Crossing comes to an end here. The film tells the story of the protagonist Ivan finding a wooden box in the library, which contains a microcosm that can rewrite history. At the same time, others coveting this power arrive. Ultimately, with the protagonist's wit, he successfully defeats the villain and maintains the stability of space and time. Overall, the film exceeded expectations. It follows the standard hero team versus villain model, somewhat reminiscent of Timothée Chalamet's character. The overall tone is comedic and humorous. The visual style leans towards video game aesthetics, with a hint of Marvel's influence. For a story about time travel, the narrative is complete and coherent. It also successfully sets up twists, providing a satisfying sense of wonder for the audience. Comprehensively, this is a good comedic science fiction movie. If you enjoy my channel, please give me a subscription.